Sahana vavatu, Sahano bhunaktu, Sahaviryan karavavahai, Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Very good. Welcome to all of you. Welcome also to the many students who are attending this meditation session online. We used to, long ago, have a regular advanced meditation session. I think we began in 2015. I actually have the notes. And that continued until the pandemic. During the pandemic, as you all know, we had no in-person classes here. That's a time at which we shifted to more online classes. So it's really nice, after quite a few years now, to resume our advanced meditation class. Advanced meditation is not very specific. Two primary practices, nididhyasana, Vedantic contemplation, and more sophisticated forms of yogic meditation. If you don't know what is yogic meditation and what is nididhyasana, you might not have the right background for this program. And if you want to get caught up, as it were, I have a series of videos on YouTube called A Course in Meditation, a lot of very short segments. And if you go through that, you will absolutely, if you go through that and practice meditation at home, you'll be caught up and ready for this class. So in these sessions, since we are calling an advanced meditation program, I won't be teaching you how to meditate, because we presume you all know how to meditate, and hopefully you have a regular practice of meditation. I hope you do, because it's absolutely crucial. I can't tell you how transformative that regular practice of meditation has been for me. It started long ago in the late 1970s. That really dates me, but it's been regular ever since. And I couldn't imagine living my life without the benefits of that regular meditation. Okay, so we begin today. Our topic for today is nididhyasana, Vedantic contemplation, and many of you have already heard this explained properly. I'll give a very brief introduction today, and then we'll go into a particular technique. Actually, let me introduce it with an anecdote. Very common thing. I used to, when I was with my guru in his ashram in Pennsylvania, in satsang, at least once a month, someone would come, sit down in satsang, and ask him, Swamiji, I know that I am Brahman, but I don't feel like Brahman. That was such a common question he received. And of course, he had the patience to deal with that again and again. I don't know how he had that patience. It was just amazing. I know I am Brahman, but I don't feel like Brahman. Why is this coming off? So there are two issues here. First of all, the fact that he says, I know I am Brahman. What do you think that means? Do you think he has discovered that his true nature as pure consciousness, independent of his body and mind, the consciousness that reveals all experiences without being involved in those experiences, the consciousness that reveals everything happening in his mind without being affected by anything, the consciousness that is boundaryless, limitless, vast, happens, and he has discovered that, first of all, discovering that consciousness is what I said is a big step, but to know that you are Brahman requires a second, larger step. First step is discovering that you are unchanging, limitless consciousness. Step two, which is a much taller step, if we can use that metaphor, is discovering that the consciousness, which is your essential nature, is the fundamental reality because of which everything in the cosmos exists. Do you think that person who asks, Swamiji, I know I am Brahman, but I don't feel like Brahman, do you think he has actually discovered all that? You get my point? Doubtful. We can't say for sure. No one knows, but highly doubtful. If he really knew his nature as Brahman, he probably would figure out the problem of feeling, which is the second issue. And the second issue is, what does it feel to be feel like to be Brahman? Huh? What's the matter? Brahman has feelings? What does it feel like to be you? You know that, right? You know how this feels? You know how it feels when someone smiles at you? You know how it feels when someone kind of scowls at you? So you know how it feels to be you. So how do you think Brahman feels to be Brahman? Does that make any sense at all? We're talking about a fundamental reality. We're not talking about a human being. So to imagine that it feels like something to be Brahman is a misnomer from the get-go, as they say. To be Brahman is not a feeling. So, yet, it is also true that someone who truly has made that discovery, that two-step discovery, as in Tattvamasi, first of all, you have to figure out Tvam. Secondly, you have to figure out Tat. And then third step, you figure out how the two are identical, which is what I briefly said before. You first figure out is not the right term. You first discover that your true nature is boundaryless consciousness, utterly unaffected by everything in the world. Step one. Step two, you come to understand that the reality because of which the cosmos exists, the reality because of which Ishvara, creator, sustainer, destroyer, exists, the reality that underlies everything is a reality we call Brahman. Taittiriya Upanishad says, Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. Satyam, absolute reality, the foundational reality, the substratum for everything that exists. And then Jnanam means, in this context, consciousness. The substratum because of which everything exists cannot be jada or inert. The substratum because of which everything exists must necessarily be conscious. Otherwise, that which exists wouldn't enjoy the property of consciousness. And we all seem to be conscious, which means the fundamental substratum because of which we all exist must give us physical existence, and actually physical existence, subtle existence in that mind and senses, and consciousness. So that underlying reality is Brahman. So that's Tat. And then final step is, if you analyze, and here analyze is the right word, if you analyze Tat and Tvam, you find out there cannot possibly be any difference. And in this way, you come to understand that the consciousness which you are is identical with the reality because of which everything exists. Prajnanam Brahma, one of the four main quoted Mahavakyas, consciousness, which is your essential nature, is itself Brahman. So suppose, and we're finally getting to nididhyasana now, suppose you get it. By the way, to get it means to be enlightened. You got it. You got it that your consciousness is not stuck inside your body. You get it that your consciousness fills the universe. You get it that your consciousness is not affected by anything that happens in your mind or anything that happens outside. You get it. And you get it that there's no difference between the consciousness which pervades the universe and the underlying reality because of which the universe exists are not two different fundamental realities. There is one fundamental reality. If you get that, that's enlightenment. But here's the problem. The problem is a problem of feeling. Because at first, when you make that discovery, the way you feel, and I'm focusing on the word feeling, the way you feel will not instantaneously be transformed. Feelings don't change instantly. Think about when somebody really insults you. Isn't it true that it takes a while before you get really angry? You get a jolt at first, but then you think about it more and more, and the more you think about it, the angrier you get. And then, what about when that feeling goes away? Suppose a person, here we go, the person apologizes to you. Does your anger and irritation go away instantly? Interesting. Feelings change slowly. You get my point? That's the way we're wired. And it has a lot, in fact, it has a lot to do with your physical brain. Seriously. The way your physical brain responds takes time. An example, if I want to lift my hand, I decide to lift my hand. Any other cell phones can be turned off, please? If I decide to lift my hand, between the decision and my hand going up, about 1/10 of a second elapses. That may not seem like a long time to you, but to a scientist, that's a really long time. Scientists who think in terms of microseconds and picoseconds, billionths of a second. So, and that's a fairly rapid thing, lifting your hand. Your feelings change at a far slower rate, because for feelings to change, it actually requires, if I understand correctly, certain neurotransmitters in your brain have to shift in their relative concentrations, which is to say that cortisol and epinephrine has to go down, and serotonin and oxytocin have to go up. And I may not have all these details right, but there is a chemical change required in your brain for your feelings to change. Do chemical reactions happen instantaneously? Some happen very quickly, but you mix the wrong two chemicals together, it goes boom, and that happens pretty fast. That's not the chemicals in our brain. Do not work that fast. What that means is, when you really get it, when you get it, when you become enlightened, your feeling of being this doesn't instantaneously go away. Think about that for a moment. Why should it? It's a feeling, right? This is a feeling. We're not talking about knowledge now. We're talking about feelings. What does it feel like to be you? That feeling, when you become enlightened, does not instantly vanish, leaving you in this very odd condition. I know I am Brahman, not like that person who was asking the question in satsang, who probably didn't truly, in fact, he did know. He knew that the scriptures say, I am Brahman. That he knew. He knew that the scriptures say I am Brahman, but he didn't know himself personally to be Brahman in all likelihood. But we're not talking about that person. We're talking about someone who truly gains enlightenment, someone who gets it. Their feeling of being an embodied person lingers. That feeling, that lingering feeling of being an embodied person is called dehatma buddhi. Buddhi here means, in this context, it really means a feeling. In fact, we should maybe better call it dehatma bhava. Let's distinguish. Dehatma buddhi is a term used in most commentaries and some texts. Dehatma buddhi, properly understood, would mean the conclusion that you are deha, this body. That body would mean physical body and subtle body, mind, senses, etc. Let's call that dehatma buddhi, the conclusion. But if you're enlightened, that conclusion is gone. But dehatma bhava lingers. Here, bhava means feeling. Dehatma buddhi goes away in an instant. How long does knowledge take? When you add two numbers together and you see the 2 plus 2 equals, moment you write down 4, does it take you a long time to get it? Knowledge of any kind is instantaneous. It may take you a while to get to that point of gaining knowledge, but knowledge itself is instantaneous. This bhava, as we've been talking about, takes time. So here's our situation. If you get it, so to speak, if you become enlightened, that dehatma bhava, that feeling of being an embodied person will linger, and then it's not desirable, right? When you know I pervade this universe, and you still feel like this itty-bitty critter. That's really contradictory, and it would be helpful to remove the feeling. Now, in the example of someone insulting you and apologizing to you, we recognize that over a period of time, those feelings will naturally change. And over a period of time, once you get it, over a period of time, your feeling of being this itty-bitty critter will gradually change. Wouldn't you like to speed it up? It could change over a period of years or decades. Wouldn't it be nice to speed up that process? That is one of the primary functions of nididhyasana. To speed up the process of removing the bhava, the lingering feeling of being an individual being. Let me give you one very simple metaphor that will nicely introduce our practice for today. Many of you who have attended classes here for a long time, you've heard me give the example of the sunset. Now here's the setup. You already know the sun doesn't go down. You already know that the earth turns on its axis. So it's actually the horizon moving up. The sun doesn't move down. By the way, that's actually an optical illusion. It's an optical illusion because our brains are trained to think that smaller things move and bigger things don't. Like a mountain won't move, but a small thing will move. So when you look at the sun and compare it to the horizon is vast. The sun is this little thing. Really, when you look up there, how big is the sun? Like the size of a quarter. So your brain will conclude that because the horizon is big and the sun is small, it's the sun moving down towards the horizon and not the horizon moving up towards the sun. It's an optical illusion. But even though you know the horizon is moving up, what does it look like? This is a classic example of how our experiences fool us all the time. This is a big topic, and we have to get ready for the meditation, so I won't talk extensively about this right now, except to say that your experience fools you. Especially the sense of touch. Because the sense of touch makes us feel like we're stuck inside this fleshy thing. Imagine your entire body were numb. What would that be like? If your entire body, you know what it's like if you sleep on your arm or something? You know what it's like. It doesn't even feel like you, right? Have you ever woken up and, what is that? What is that thing in my bed? and you discover it's your own arm. It doesn't feel like you when it falls asleep. Imagine your whole body were numb. Wow. It'd be nice if some doctor invented a medicine we could take that whole body goes numb. You'd learn something so amazing from that. Anyway, the point here really is that the sense of touch in the skin that covers our entire body, that sense of touch gives us an experience which fools us again and again and again. How can we come out of being fooled by these common experiences? Well, with regard to the sunset, excuse me just a moment. With regard to the sunset, suppose you went out for 40 evenings in a row. And for 40 evenings, you watched at the time the sun goes down. As you're watching, you are picturing in your mind that the horizon is really moving up. You do that one night, second evening, third evening, 40 evenings in a row. As you're watching the sun go down, you have in your mind the reality, the truth, that the horizon is really going up. On the 41st evening, you wouldn't feel like the sun is going down. If you were there with somebody else, you'd say, look, the horizon is moving up. And they'd think you were nuts. But you're actually correct. So you get my point. That 40 evening of reflection or contemplation of the sunset is the equivalent of nididhyasana, which is what we're going to perform right now. The nididhyasana we're going to perform, we want to get rid of this, this experience which fools us. I'm not sure if that's going to cause any trouble. Just get rid of that. Make sure, yeah, we're still recording fine. So how can we get rid of this? As I said, I wish there were a switch, just turn it off. We can use meditation techniques to get rid of this. If you are an advanced meditator, you already know that when you are sufficiently deep in meditation, you lose contact with your physical body. Now, you may or may not have had this experience. I'm not assuming that you have, but I think many of you have. You know, you go very deep and you kind of forget where you are and you don't really feel your body anymore. What we're going to do this evening is a meditation technique that can very quickly concentrate your mind. And what we're going to do is concentrate on the breathing. And the way it works is when you pay sufficient attention to your breathing, your attention simultaneously gets withdrawn from your body. You can't, it's a matter of your attention is a finite quantity. Right now, it's kind of blurred out. You're aware of many things simultaneously. You're aware of me. You're aware of everything happening around you. You're also aware of your own body. What we're going to do is to take that attention, and which is a finite quantity, and very narrowly concentrate it on the breath. In doing so, you obviously won't be aware of what's happening around you, and you won't even be aware of this. Now, having done so, that, by the way, that's not nididhyasana. That's meditation. Meditation is controlling, not all forms of meditation. Most forms of meditation, yogic meditation in particular, is to put your mind in a particular condition, like concentration. So that's not nididhyasana. What is nididhyasana is what follows. And what follows is I will guide you through a very simple contemplation on the fact that you, listen very carefully here because it'll be important in the meditation, you who are you as essentially being consciousness. You are a conscious being. In your essential nature as a conscious being, that consciousness is not stuck inside your body. That consciousness is not in a particular location. Just reflect on that for a moment. In order for your body is in a particular location because it's a physical thing with height, width, and depth. How tall is consciousness? Wide? Deep? How much does it weigh? You get my point. Not being a non-physical fundamental reality. It's not located in a particular place. We feel like it's here, inside this body, because of touch. So the way this session will work is we will first together perform a simple meditation technique to concentrate our attention on the breath. After doing so, I will, using some very simple language, guide you to reflect on what it means to be a conscious being with no edge, no boundary, no particular location. So that will be the That will be the technique. How many of you know this Ujjayi pranayama technique? We've taught it here many times. Okay. Again, if you don't know these techniques, I highly recommend you go through that course in meditation, because this Ujjayi pranayama is a really important technique, and we can't take the time now to teach it. So when we get to that part, I'm sorry. Just do the best you can. You'll be mostly, it'll still work for you, mostly. You'll lose out on some of the intensity of it. Okay, I think we are ready to begin. We can turn down the lights and begin our meditation. And you can, there's a pull string, there you go, on that, yeah, got it. All right. Okay, close your eyes, please. Take a deep breath, take a moment to get settled down. In any kind of meditation session, it's helpful to begin with a sankalpa. With a sankalpa, we recognize first that our lives are very complicated, and probably there are many unresolved issues in our lives, unresolved issues that can distract us when we try to meditate. So right now, we acknowledge all those unresolved issues in our lives, and we give ourselves permission to set all of that aside for the next 20 or 30 minutes. For the next 20 or 30 minutes, we can devote ourselves exclusively to this meditative practice. We can continue with a brief exercise to relax the body and concentrate the attention. Start by turning your attention to your feet. Become aware of a sense of pressure as your feet press down on the floor. Feel the firmness of the floor beneath you. Be aware of other sensations in your feet, warmth, coolness, touch of your clothing, and notice if there's any tension in the muscles of your feet, and let go of that tension. Now, turn to your ankles and calves, and in the same way, become aware of sensations, pressure, touch of your clothing, warmth, coolness, etc., and notice if there's any tension in the muscles of your ankles and calves, and let go of that tension. Then your knees and thighs in the same way. Be aware of sensations. For example, notice the weight of your hands or arms where they rest. Be aware of sensations and let go of tension. Now the trunk of your body. Feel the weight of your body pressing down on the seat. Feel the firmness of the seat beneath you. Let go of any tension. Your lower back and stomach together. Let go of any tension. Your upper back and chest. Notice the touch of your clothing that hangs on your body. Let go of any tension in your shoulders and in your upper arms. Let go of tension, elbows, forearms, wrists, in your hands, fingers, right up to your fingertips. Let go of any tension. Let go of any tension in your neck, head, face, throughout your body. Now, turn your attention to your breath and trace the passage of air as you breathe. As you inhale, mentally trace the passage of air as it enters your nostrils, travels down your windpipe and fills your lungs. As you exhale, mentally trace the passage of air as it leaves your lungs, traveling up your windpipe, leaving through your nose and returning to the room. With each inhalation, trace a passage of air in through the nostrils, down the windpipe, filling your lungs. With each exhalation, again, trace the passage of air, leaving your lungs, traveling up through your windpipe, leaving through your nose. With each inhalation, mentally trace the passage of air. With each exhalation, mentally trace the passage of air. To help us narrowly focus all of our attention on the breathing, it's helpful to accompany this mental tracing of the passage of air. We can accompany it with counting. This will help us focus the attention. As you inhale, mentally count 1, 2, 3, as you trace the passage of air. And as you exhale, mentally count 4, 5, 6, as you trace the passage of air. Inhaling 1, 2, 3. Observing the air entering the nostrils, traveling down the windpipe, filling the lungs. Exhaling 4, 5, 6. Again, tracing the passage of air, rising from your lungs through the windpipe, exiting through your nostrils. Inhaling 1, 2, 3, tracing the passage of air. Exhaling 4, 5, 6. Again, tracing the passage of air. For this contemplation to be effective, your concentration needs to be very focused on this practice. So for 1 minute, be very diligent in this practice. Inhaling 1, 2, 3. Tracing the passage of air. Exhaling 4, 5, 6. Tracing the passage of air. now, would everyone please, before coming for this meditation, check your phones. Thank you. Now, to concentrate our attention even further, we can use a technique long used by yogis, and that is to slow your breathing. The way we will do this is by inhaling more deeply to the count of 3, and then exhaling much more slowly to the count of 6, which will slow our breathing as you continue to trace the passage of air. Begin now, inhaling more deeply. 1, 2, 3, tracing the passage of air, and exhale slowly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale deeply. 1, 2, 3, tracing the passage of air. Exhale slowly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Again, tracing the passage of air. In this practice, breathe at a pace that's comfortable for you. You should never feel short of breath or lightheaded. Be sure to adjust the breathing so that you feel completely comfortable. Inhaling more deeply. 1, 2, 3. Tracing the passage of air. Exhaling slowly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Tracing the passage of air. Inhaling deeply. 1, 2, 3. Exhaling slowly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Those of you who know how to perform Ujjayi pranayama, you can use the constriction of your throat on the exhalation only. Do not constrict your throat at all as you inhale, but you can constrict your throat on the exhalation. Beginning now. Inhaling 1, 2, 3. Inhaling deeply. Exhaling with the throat constriction. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhaling deeply. 1, 2, 3. Exhaling slowly with the constriction of your larynx muscles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This practice requires diligence. Pay very close attention as you perform this breathing technique. Inhaling deeply, observing with great attention. 1, 2, 3. Exhaling slowly, observing with great attention. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Continue this practice with great diligence, with great attention, as I lead you on a simple reflection or contemplation. You observe the inhalation. You observe the passage of air entering your nostrils, traveling down, filling your lungs. You observe the exhalation as the air travels up and returns to the room. You observe. You observe for the simple reason that you are conscious. You are a conscious being. In essence, you are a conscious being who observes the breath. You are a conscious being observing the inhalation. You are a conscious being observing the exhalation. Your concentration is focused on the breath. You are aware or conscious of each inhalation and each exhalation. To be aware of your breath requires the breath to be present in your consciousness. Right now, breathing is present in your consciousness. My voice is present in your consciousness. And if you're being very diligent, nothing else is present in your consciousness. Only your breathing and my voice are present in your consciousness at this moment. If breathing is present in your consciousness, as it is right now, along with my voice, breathing and the sound of my voice are in consciousness, that breathing, in terms of your experience right this moment, breathing is in your consciousness. Breathing is not in your body. Breathing is not in your body because you're not paying attention to your body right now. You're paying attention to your breathing and my voice. Each breath is in consciousness. Inhalation arises in consciousness. Exhalation arises in consciousness, independently of the body. When you are sufficiently concentrated on the breath, you're not aware of your body. Concentrating on your breath, knowing that breath is in consciousness, there is no physical body present in your experience at this moment. You, right now, are nothing but a conscious being, aware of the breath. A conscious being aware of the breath and nothing else. As a conscious being, aware only of your breath and the sound of my voice, as a conscious being, what is your relationship with the physical body that is sitting in your chair? As a conscious being, your consciousness or awareness is completely independent of the physical body sitting in your chair. As a conscious being, aware of the breath, aware of the sound of my voice, as a conscious being, utterly independent of the physical body sitting in your chair, the consciousness which you are is not limited by the size or shape of the body sitting in your chair. Your body has size and shape and location. What about consciousness? Your essential nature, your awareful nature. No size, no width, height, depth. Then exactly where is it located? Everything you experience is in consciousness. Things you experience may have a location. But the consciousness which you are has no location. in the last few minutes of this meditation, I will repeat a key word. We'll talk about how this works in future sessions. But just listen to the word and reflect on the meaning in terms of your experience. The word is vast. And what does that word mean to you in terms of what you experience right this moment? Reflect for just a minute or two. Reflect on vast. Vast. Your consciousness is vast. No edge, no boundary, no limit. Your consciousness is vast. Your nature is vast. Your awareness is vast. Consciousness is independent of the physical body sitting in your chair. Your essential, awareful nature is vast. 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 Just listen. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om.